We'll put this in the floor.
We'll just do a little clap.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Alright. So how are you, man? Finally got here.
Yeah.
Finally able to meet up and speak.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this for a while, man. I'm feeling very good about it.
So Vi, you know what it is? I reached out because I was looking at your page, right? And I was just listening to some of your videos and I was thinking to myself, like, wow, this guy really knows how to speak and evoke sort of like motivation and passion in people. Where did that come from, man?
If I'm honest with you, this is really funny. So I've been reflecting on this lately. It was coming in the beginning from a deep anger about a lot of things that had happened with me, but also things that I was seeing in other people. And one of the things that I based my channel on was I want to make spirituality practical for people.
Right.
And I would see, you know, gurus and people on YouTube speaking in very soft voices, and we don't want to evoke too much emotions. Yeah. And I wanted to come in the game like a bull in a china shop. Like, no, I'm not taking that. I'm not taking these softly approaches. I want to come in the game with something fresh. Like, okay, you say you've got depression. I've been there too. I think it's something that happens with everyone from time to time. It's not just this final destination that you found yourself in. So my anger towards what I was hearing from people was like, oh, you don't understand what it's like. That was the main one I kept hearing. I said, I was where you are a little while ago. I instead, because I have Asian parents, they don't understand what depression is. They don't understand these mental health labels. So what I got from them was this doesn't exist. And I mixed that with the approach of, well, I do know that it exists, but there's also something practical that needs to change here. Because I can't just stay in the bed, playing the PlayStation, smoking the weed, and doing nothing. And this is the approach that I watched loads of other YouTube videos about what do you do when you're in that state. And the main thing I kept getting was people were like, you got to think differently, you got to start being positive. And I was like, hold on a minute. I don't feel like getting out of the bed today. Why is that? Oh, it's because I'm choosing to have these bullshit things in my life. Like I have to marry an Indian person. I'm not allowed to do the career that I want to do. You know, the artistic things that I'm interested in are a waste of time. And that's what got me angry. That's when I started, like in 2015, I cut off everyone from my life except for my parents and my brother. And that's where a lot of the anger came from, not from cutting them off, but from realizing, whoa, like me doing that, 65% of my symptoms went. Like I started getting out of the bed refreshed, energized, knowing like I don't ever have to go to anything I don't want to ever again. And then suddenly like the rest of my life started looking brighter. And every day I was writing poems, I was making music, I was looking at the PlayStation, like, no. I was looking at people who used to be in my life. I was like, don't think so, Jonathan. I don't want to have anything to do with that. Like,
go with Jonathan.
a lot of the anger that I had towards a lot of things that had happened in my past, like lots of sexual abuse when I was a kid. I didn't remember these things. Lots of like people broke my spine when 2013, didn't remember it. I kept drinking alcohol back then and I was a very passive person. And as soon as I stopped drinking in 2015, this lion wolf energy came out of me and this like excitement for life. Yeah, just because I wasn't dulling my senses anymore.
So what were you angry about? How did this anger, you spoke a lot about anger and that obviously anger is an emotion that evokes crazy change at people. Where did it stem from?
So in 2015, I was working in a bank, and in February, I had my first MDMA experience ever. And you know, my friends, they put some of the crystals in an alcoholic drink, and I sipped it a few times, but I was a bit scared. You know, I've always been scared about doing any drugs except for weed. So I sipped it a little bit, very cautiously. I was like, oh, okay, we'll see what happens. Started to kick in. I was like, hey, I'm not. Like, oh, what's going on here? And there was we all split up, and I went off into the dance floor, and I was walking around like just doing this. And all of my life up until that point, I'd hated myself. And this voice in the back of my head came to the front, and it was like, "Hey, I love you, man." And I was like, "Whoa, wait, what's this coming from?" And it allowed me to like, so in my mind, there was one particular experience that I was trying to block out with putting up walls in my brain around it, not to look at it. Because every time I told someone about that, "Oh, you're a pussy. Oh, how can you let this girl do that to you?" She used to put like roofies in my drink and then get other people to take me back to my room, and then they would have sex on top of me and weird stuff like that, bro.
Whoa.
And then anytime I would tell someone about it, they'd just call me a pussy or a bitch. So I just stopped talking about it. That was it. So I was in a really toxic relationship from 2010 till 2014. And I went, like, there's a lot of stuff in that too. That was a main cause of anger. I was suppressing a lot of, like, oh, I'm angry about this, but I don't want to talk about it because people kept saying mean things to me. So I just blocked it out. But when I had this MDMA experience, it was like, hey, why are you being hard on yourself for that? Like, it wasn't your fault that this person is choosing to be mean to you in those ways. And just because everyone else thinks a certain way of you doesn't make it true. And I was like, so I went off the dance floor. I went to sit down at the railings. I just sat there like this. And my friend came over. He was like, oh my God, I knew I shouldn't have given you the drugs, man. What the hell? And I was like, no, do you know what? I've just had some really epic realizations right now. And he looked at me, goes, God, I thought it was only white people that this happened to when they take drugs. And, you know, I was like, well, look, I don't care about the race thing, but, you know, this is hitting me really hard where I live. So, just started that. It started this like line of questioning for me. Even after like the drug thing finished, the next day I couldn't sleep that day because I had all these questions flying around in my head. And from there, I went back to the bank job and I saw everything differently. Like it's you know when people say they have a spiritual awakening and they woke up. Yeah. It's like I always knew these things were wrong, but they were very low beneath the surface, and I was suppressing it with food, alcohol, weed, video games, getting girls' numbers, whatever it is. And just this just erupted out of me when it was like a process of zooming out of my life. And I saw like this lady. I asked her, how long have you been working here? She goes, 18 years. And I was like, oh, okay, like do you enjoy it? She was like, not really, but I'm like part of the furniture now. And I was like, whoa, wait, are you a desk? Like, am I supposed to put my laptop on top of you to do this work? Like, what the fuck is going on here? And that's when I started getting angry. Like, I've been lied to my whole life. All of these Indian people have told me, you have to get married, you have to get a job, you have to have children. And my life was built on a series of I have to's. That's where the anger started from originally. And luckily, my brother has always been clued in on this stuff, but he never talked about it because he's 28. Okay. He's always been up to speed on this stuff, but he never talked to me about it because he just thought I was an idiot, like playing PlayStation all the time. So I spoke to him about it, and he goes, "Oh, you're just waking up now, okay? But like, you know, you got to do something with your life." And he showed me this video of this guy saying, "You can, if you want to, if you choose to." You can be free. You can go to Bali tomorrow if you want, when you have enough money to do all this stuff, but you ain't gonna get there like that. You have to create stuff. And I was like, shit, what am I gonna create? And my brother was like, well, I'm doing music. You can try it if you want. So I started making a bit of music. Then I realized it wasn't like I tried to make loads to get better in a short period of time. I got way better, but I didn't have that love for it. So I just put it to the side. And I started writing poems. And when I was writing these poems, I just short A5 line after line. And it was just anger and resentment and like just betrayal that was coming out of me. And then I felt like everyone had betrayed me. Like my dad.
All right, cool. So we touched on the betrayal thing.
Yeah.
You felt that because people were saying to you, look, this is the path in life that you should go because it's safe. And you got disheartened by that. You actually really felt that they betrayed you. Why?
It's not just that. It was like they were saying to me, this is the only path. Because if you pursue anything else, you're gonna fail.
What do your parents do?
So my dad runs his own estate agency business. He's been doing it for over 30 years or so now. And my mum helps him run the business. Okay.
What's their background? Did they come from?
So my dad came from India when he was like 6, and my mom was born here. My mom was raised very traditional. Like you're not allowed to go to university. You are gonna be someone's wife. And whatever they say for you, that's your life. And my dad, that's a picture of my grandfather over there. He's a great dude because he came from India with 9 children and he made money here and sent it back to bring them all over here to have a good life. Wow. So my dad had that as an influence to get him to, like, one of his best sayings was, through adversity comes character. And so,
very true.
Yeah, and the betrayal for me was like, he told you lot, don't settle for what, like, at the time when he came here, white people were spitting on him. In the pubs, it said no blacks, no dogs, no Irish. He was considered one of the blacks. They weren't allowed to rent property because of the colour of their skin and stuff like that. Yeah. And I said to my dad at one point, I was like, you're telling me not to pursue these things that I love, yet your dad told you don't take any shit. Don't settle. And that's where a lot of the betrayal came from. Like, my own community of Indian people, very competitive with each other, very much like, we don't want each other to do well. We're trying to compete, like, my son's this, my son's that. And even when I was at university, it was all about competition. That's a lot of the betrayal that I speak of has come from my own people trying to make sure I don't win. Like, when I was young, I was getting molested and raped by pedophiles and child molesters. They told me, it's because we don't want you to be successful when you're older. Your dad's successful. We don't want that for you. We can't do anything to him, so I want to make sure that his children don't do well. So I only started remembering these things in 2016. Like, it just hit me when I stopped drinking. All of these flashbacks started coming back in chronological order. So the most recent things with my spine, and then the weird sexual stuff that was going on when I was getting drugged, all the way back to when I was 3. And that's when I had all of these bulk of realizations, like, it was too much for me. Like, I was having flashbacks while I was talking to people and I would shut down. And I went to the doctors and they were like, yeah, you have to take SSRIs, which is like serotonin uptake inhibitors or something like that. It's like this medication basically that stops you from getting them. Yeah. And I just said, fuck that, man. I'm not going to turn into a vegetable because I know that this is not a symptom. The treatment is not for the symptom. You need to go deeper and have a look at where's it all coming from and why. And at that time, I hadn't decided on a path for myself. All I knew was that this society is not for me. Like, I don't want it to be about just scrape by.